This video is from our Path to Fluency course, with over 50 videos divided into 7 units, providing plenty of useful tips and resources to help advanced students reach fluency. For the full course, visit ChineseZeroToHero.com/fluency.
In this video, let's take a look at how we can develop an overall strategy. Now that we've set our goal and understood our task at hand, rebuild your knowledge of the world through Chinese. Let's see how we can accomplish it. To understand this, we need to learn a little bit about the theories of second language acquisition, or SLA. In particular, we need to understand the difference between language acquisition and language learning. What's the difference? As Stephen Krashen points out in his book, Second Language Acquisition and Second Language Learning, which dates back to 1981, the term acquisition refers to how one picks up language naturally. An example of this is when we see an English sentence that's wrong, we don't know exactly why it's wrong, but we just know that it doesn't sound right. The reason why this can happen is because we've picked up or acquired our mother tongue. We did not consciously learn it, we just acquired it. We acquire language principally through comprehensible input, that is, reading or hearing messages in a language and understanding it. For example, when you read a book in Chinese with the help of a dictionary, you're getting comprehensible input. And that's a form of language acquisition. To further illustrate the differences between acquisition and learning, here are some typical activities that's associated with acquisition and learning. With acquisition, activities for language acquisition through comprehensible input include reading a Chinese novel, reading Chinese news, watching a Chinese movie, watching an online video intended for Chinese audiences, listening to a Chinese podcast, or having a natural conversation with a Chinese person. These are all activities associated with acquisition. On the other hand, activities associated with conscious language learning include learning how to use the word 幸亏 in various contexts, memorizing a list of words, or completing an HSK 5 mock test. These are all activities associated with conscious learning. So on the one hand, we have acquisition, which means naturally picking up the language by comprehensible input, like reading a novel, watching a movie, etc. And on the other hand, we have conscious language learning, like memorizing vocabulary lists, studying grammar, etc. Think of learning Chinese as growing a tree. At the base of the tree is HSK 1. The trunk would be HSK 2 and 3. Up to this point, the tree hasn't branched out yet, so the learning path is pretty singular. You simply need to follow one textbook, one course, one program. However, at about HSK 4, the tree trunk splits into 2, and then 2 into 4. It starts to grow branches and leaves. At HSK 5 and 6, we can no longer simply follow a single course or program and expect to get the full coverage. We need to branch out and grow leaves. We need to focus on natural acquisition with an organic approach, which can at first seem a bit random or even chaotic. Now, let's imagine that this graph shows how your Chinese progresses. The higher level you get to, the more expressions and structures you learn. At the lower levels, you progress mainly through conscious learning, perhaps through a structured course like our Chinese Zero to Hero HSK courses. But as you progress to higher levels, your conscious learning becomes less and less important. And instead, you should focus your effort on language acquisition through comprehensible input. The reason is, at this point, what you need to learn is so diverse that no course or textbook can capture all that you need to know. Traditional methods, like studying text and memorizing vocabulary lists, simply will not work. So now that we've established that we need to focus on natural acquisition through comprehensible input, a great way to achieve natural acquisition is to focus yourself on a subject that interests you and study that subject through Chinese material. This is to say, rather than thinking of it as learning Chinese, think of it as learning that subject matter through Chinese. Let's say that you're interested in Chinese history and you pore over Chinese history books written in Chinese. Instead of thinking of it as a way to improve your Chinese reading, think of it simply as studying Chinese history. And as for your Chinese reading, it will automatically improve in the process without you even realizing it. And this is what Dr. Stephen Krashen refers to as subject matter teaching. According to Krashen, there is research on subject matter learning that shows that students learn considerable amounts of second language and learn impressive amounts of subject matter all at the same time, which makes this way of learning language very time efficient because you are learning the language as well as a subject matter. So instead of learning Chinese, try and learn a subject matter through Chinese. But where should you start? The first step is to figure out what is it that interests you and decide on a good subject matter to study. Then, you study the subject by reading text, watching videos, or listening to audio. Finally, you talk, write, and present that subject. Then you repeat the same process again by discovering a new topic that you're interested in. So through this cyclical three-step process, by discovering a subject that interests you, and then study that subject, and thus getting comprehensible input, and finally present the subject, and thus getting the output that's required to develop better speaking and writing skills. And then repeat the process again and again with various different subjects. And that, my friend, is what's going to get you fluent in Chinese.